Good morning everyone, welcome to yet another session of weekly roundup. Myself Nilesh and I will be taking this session. In this session we will be covering important development of the last week. So before we start today's session, let's see the important headlines. In this session we will be covering 5 main news, 1 place in news and 7 quick updates. In main news, first main news is about prevention of children from the Sexual Abuse Act, as Supreme Court told the government to consider Romeo-Juliet clause in it. Then second main news is about nuclear fusion reactor, as China achieved the new milestone in it. Then third main news is about coal as the next generational fuel. Then fourth main news is about Right to Education Act 2009, as Supreme Court give the directions for the effective implementation of it. And last main news is about Global Risk Report 2026. In place in news, we will be covering Israel. So let's start the today's discussion. The first main news is about POCSO Act, and Supreme Court told the government to consider Romeo-Juliet clause in it. This particular section or the news is important for the GS paper 2, that is mechanism, laws, institution and constitutional bodies for the protection of the betterment of the vulnerable sections. In this we will be seeing how this act is beneficial to the children. So let's start the discussion. What is the background? Before we see the background, let us consider and see some of the important terms. The first important term is Romeo-Juliet clause, and then there is protection of children from the Sexual Offences Act. So what is the Romeo-Juliet clause? Please understand what is Romeo-Juliet. So Romeo-Juliet was the play written by the William Shakespeare, and in that play what happens? Two adolescents fall in love with each other. Their families were actually feudal families and they had conflict between them, and at the end those two died and their families united. So Supreme Court want that this POCSO is used by the families to criminalize the another family, particularly boys, when two minors are involved in the relationship. So POCSO is misused by these families. So this is the context. Now let us consider this case. So this case is UP versus Anirudh, and in this case what happens? Two minors were in the relationship, and when the family of the girl found that, they filed the case against the boy, and in that case Supreme Court observed that the age of that girl was false, because that girl was above 18 years and families wanted stringent actions under the POCSO Act against that boy. So they told the false age, and secondly they were in consensuous relationship. So they were in relationship, but families use this against the boy and criminalize him in the POCSO Act. So this is the background. Now what are the some of the issues when minors are implicated in the POCSO? The first is that constitutional, as there is virtuous triangle of 14 article, then article 19 and article 21, that is equality, freedom and liberty. When you are inflicting a consenting minors, then you are infringing their right under article 14, 19 and 21. Secondly, there is health consequences, as if the minor get pregnant, they cannot go to the medical professional, because then the medical professional or the doctor will tell the police about the case. And then why these people do? They will try to abort the kid by themselves, and in that process the girl may be harmed and there may be consequences of the death in the some cases. So that is this second. Then thirdly, they are maturing minors. So if the boy and girl is of the age of 16 and 17, then they are already maturing minors. You cannot consider them as totally minors, and they can take their own decision. And when they are taking their own decision, you cannot criminalize them. So that is also one case. And some of the experts suggest that there should be a closing in clause, so that there should be no such criminalization of the consenting minors. So that is also one case. Then what is the purpose of POCSO? The purpose of the POCSO is to prevent children and avoid their sexual exploitation. But in this case, it is not the case. As in India, today almost 53% of the children are going through or went through some kind of sexual abuse, as per the 2007 survey conducted by Ministry of Children and Women Welfare. Such kind of survey have not been conducted after that, but this figure is very staggering. And then there are also cases of child marriage. Almost 23% cases are there where child marriages are happening. And when all these things are happening, we are concentrating our efforts to where? To implicating the children who are in love. So this kind of things should be stopped, and the POCSO should be used for the purpose for which it was enacted. Also, almost 25% cases in Maharashtra, then Assam, and then West Bengal from 2016 to 2020, as observed by the UNICEF, that there were the romanticizing of the POCSO. What does it mean? Means 25% cases were where there the minors were in the consensual relationship and the cases were filed by the families to implicate the children. So this is wrong, and these are the some of the background of the case. Now we will see what are the Supreme Court direction regarding it. So firstly, Supreme Court told that the law is misused, and as we already discussed, the instances where the age of the victims is misinterpreted, as we saw in the case, and then incident fall upon under the stringent provisions of the POCSO, as we discussed in the particular case of the UP versus Anirudh in the background. And then the families of the opposition parties use this to implicate the children. Secondly, court told that they introduce the Romeo-Juliet clause, as we already discussed. So Romeo-Juliet clause will what? So it will exempt genuine consensual adolescent relationship where the age difference between the two minors will be minuscule, and then they will not fall under the criminalization of the POCSO, right? Then there should be also consideration of consensual nature of relationship, which can lead to the wrongful imprisonment. So it should also be stopped. So these are the some of the key highlights of the judgment. Now we will see about the POCSO. So what was the purpose? As we already discussed, the purpose of this act is to protect children, and children means the children below the age of 18 years from the sexual assault, sexual harassment, and the pornography. So this is the purpose. Then this act is gender neutral. What is gender neutral? So gender neutral means that it doesn't matter the children is boy or a girl. If the children is below 18 years, then it doesn't matter if that children is boy or girl, it will be applicable to it. And also, if the accused is the man or a woman, doesn't matter, it will apply to everyone and will protect every children irrespective of the gender. Then it categorizes the offenses. So it classifies the offenses against the children into penetrative and non-penetrative assault and aggravative form of assault, and it gives the stringent punishment. So stringent punishment ranging from the imprisonment to the life sentence. In this regard, please remember that the act was amended in 2019, and now if the children dies in the sexual assault, the death penalty can also be given. Also, the provisions were made so that POCSO made in line with the IT Act, and IT related online crimes are also involved in it. Also, the punishment from the 7 year extended till the 20 years. So these are the some of the clauses of the amendment in the 2019. So this is also one case. Then there are special courts, so that ensures the speedy cases in camera trials within a year and safeguards of the children from the exposure to the accused. Please imagine if children was exploited by someone, and in court if the children see that person again, then there will be a mental physical trauma to that child. To avoid that, so child will be protected from the accused and will not be bring in front of the accused. Also there are provisions such as police officer will not go in front of the child in the uniform and all that things. They will consider empathically to the cases. So there are these provisions also. Now we will see about the previous year questions regarding it. The first important question is, examine the main provisions of the National Child Policy and throw light on the status of its implementation. So this policy came into force in 2013, and it stated that children as a subject, then it determine their age as 18 year or below, and also they consider for their welfare. So they think for their health, education, then their protection such as POCSO, IT Act, all these provisions. So all these things are discussed here, and about their implementation you can state the facts about the effectiveness of these provisions. So this is the one question. Then second question is, the National Commission for the Protection of Child Rights has to address the challenges faced by the children in the digital era, examine the existing policies and suggest measures the commission can initiate. So what are the existing mechanism? So you can tell about the POCSO, IT Act, then new criminal laws, right? So all these things you can write. Then constitutional provisions, legal provisions, you can write all those things. Then you can say that implementation about these things can be more effective. There should be more effective mechanism, awareness regarding all those things. So you can discuss all of those things. So this is all about the first news. Now we will see the second news. So second news is about Chinese nuclear fusion reactor pushes plasma past critical limit. So we'll see what is that critical limit is. In this news, we will see what is nuclear fusion is, what are its advantages over the nuclear fission, and then we will see India's initiative regarding the nuclear fusion reactor, right? So this is very important for your paper, GS paper 3, that is science and technology, developments and their applications and effect in the everyday life. So what is the background? So background is that China's experimental advanced superconducting tokamak, also known as yeast or the artificial sun, kept the plasma stable at extreme densities, previously seen as the major obstacle in the nuclear fusion. So before we start discussing this news, we have to see some important concept, and then we will understand this concept. So firstly, what is plasma? So plasma is kind of a state of the matter where it is very hot and it have the free flowing electrons and the positively charged particles at very high temperature. So that is the plasma, and plasma is required to occur the nuclear fusion. So what is nuclear fusion? We will see in the next slide. But what happens that this plasma is very hot, and therefore it is very difficult to confine it in the particular place. So the temperature of this plasma may reach up to the 1 million degrees Celsius also. So you can imagine how hot it will be. And to understand it, please remember that our sun also are going through the same nuclear fusion, and that is why we are getting such a sunlight and all the temperature, even if sun is even crores of kilometer away from us. So you can imagine how high temperature will there, and in such high temperature it is very difficult to contain that plasma in particular place and to have the sufficient concentration to nuclear fusion to happen. So this is very difficult, and researchers believe that plasma could not exceed a certain density without becoming unstable, known as Greenwald limit. So this Greenwald limit depends upon various things, and if there is no sufficient density, then nuclear fusion cannot take place. So China have achieved that the density beyond the Greenwald limit. So this is the development. Let us see about the nuclear fusion. So what is nuclear fusion? As we already discussed, that two light atomic nuclei combines to form single heavier one while releasing the large amount of energy. In this process, the light atomic nuclei means hydrogen or its isotopes, that is deuterium or tritium, and deuterium and tritium combines with each other in the presence of plasma, that is high temperature, and it forms helium and then energy plus neutron. So this is the reaction, and why this energy is produced? So there is a formula, energy is equal to mass into c square. Here c square is the speed of light, and what is the speed of light? Speed of light is around 3 lakh kilometer per second. So speed of light is such a high that even the small amount of mass will generate huge amount of energy, and that is what happening here. But please see, it can happen in the nature, as we already discussed. It is happening in the sun and other stars, but it is very difficult to generate on the earth. Why? Because to contain plasma is very difficult. In the case of sun and stars have the huge amount of gravity, and that gravity combines or the keep intact the plasma. That is not the case on the earth. We cannot contain the plasma of such high temperature, and without such high temperature the nuclear fusion is impossible. So that is the problem. You cannot have the plasma at such high temperature confined, and that is why nuclear fusion cannot be exploited like the nuclear fission, as we are generate energy from the nuclear fission. So this is one of the issue. Then, as we already discussed, what is the plasma? So it is hot charged gas made of positive ions and the free moving electrons. And what is the significance? So their properties are unique and distinct from the solid, liquid and gas, and that is why it is considered the fourth state of the material. So this is all about the nuclear fusion. Now we will see the significance of the nuclear fusion. Before that, please remember one fact, that India's nuclear program, which is 3-step, does not include nuclear fusion. It includes first stage natural uranium is used, then in second stage breeder reactor are used to create more fuel, and in third stage that fuel is used to use thorium as a fuel to generate energy. So this is the three-step process of the India's nuclear program, but nuclear fusion is not part of it. Now we will see the significance of the fusion reactor. First significance is abundant energy. If we take 1 kilogram of coal, gas or other oil, all those things, then 1 kilogram of uranium and 1 kilogram of material such as hydrogen or its isotopes, and if you generate the energy from it, then the energy generated by the coal, oil or gas in nuclear fusion, it will be 4 times greater than the nuclear fission, and in nuclear fission this energy will be million times greater than the oil, gas or the coal. So in nuclear fusion energy will be 4 times greater than nuclear fission. So this is the energy it produces. So such high amount of energy is produced in the nuclear fission, and even in nuclear fusion more energy is produced. Then there is zero carbon dioxide emissions. As we already saw, there is only one gas, that is helium is produced, and helium is non-toxic inert gas, it doesn't react. You in various TV shows may have seen that the people inhale the helium and their voice change like the baby's voice for the some period of time, for 3-4 seconds or 10 seconds, and that gas is helium. So it is inert, it is not toxic and doesn't have the greenhouse effect. So in that way it is even the eco-friendly. Then huge fuel resources are there. So we use deuterium. So deuterium is get from the water, and then tritium. So tritium is produced in the nuclear fusion and fission itself. So you can get that also. So there is huge resources, there is no problem of resources. Then there is minimal radioactive waste. So basically we saw there was no radioactive activity there, but why it is saying that minimal radioactive waste and it can be reused within the 100 years? Because there is one thing that is called as beryllium, and beryllium is used in the walls of the nuclear fusion reactors. And what it does, so generally when deuterium is produced, but tritium has to produce, it have to go through the neutron bombardments, and there are not sufficient neutrons to produce the sufficient amount of tritium. And to increase the neutron numbers, you use the beryllium sheet. So beryllium sheet double the neutron production in the nuclear fission, and in that way tritium will be sufficient to generate the energy. And this beryllium also contains some of the high metals such as uranium, and uranium is radioactive. And when after some time you have to replace that beryllium sheets, and those sheets are actually radioactive, and that is why even the small amount as compared to nuclear fission, but there is some kind of material used which have the radioactivity. So these can be reused within the 100 years. With respect to nuclear fission, this will be 1,000 years or even more. So this is one of the advantage, and there is no meltdown risk. As we saw that the confining the plasma within a particular chamber is very difficult. And what happens if plasma comes out of that chamber? It dissipates and cools down very rapidly. So there will be no meltdown such as happened in Fukushima or in other nuclear power plants, Chernobyl and all those things. So there will be no such thing as radioactivity and related diseases, or there will be no other harm also, because it will cool down very fast and there will be no radioactivity. In that sense, it will be safe also to use it, right? Then we will see what are the initiatives taken by the India, but before that we will see what is the tokamak. So tokamak are the nuclear fusion reactors and they are donut shape. So these are the things which will contain the plasma, and they will have the magnetic field around it to contain the plasma in these tubes. So this is the tokamak design. So it is the experimental machine designed to harness the fusion, and this particular design, tokamak design, was developed by the previous USSR and it was made public. So this is the tokamak design. This is like a donut shape. Then it uses fusion plasma is created and confined by using the strong magnetic fields. So as we already discussed, these are the strong magnetic fields and the plasma is confined in the donut shape tube. So how we can generate the electricity? So water is circulated around the wall of this tube, and this tube will have the high energy. This water will be evaporated and the high energy and the high temperature steam will be generated. This steam will be used to rotate the turbines, and these turbines will generate the electricity. So this is the mechanism. Same mechanism is used in the nuclear fission also, in the nuclear power plants of the today. So this same mechanism is used here also, right? So then we will see the International Thermonuclear Energy Reactor. What is it? So this is the world's largest tokamak launch as the international joint experiment in the southern France. So this is the international experiment, and they are trying to solve the issues with the nuclear fission to use it at the commercial level. So this is the joint experiment, and who are the members? So 27 European Union countries are there and other 7 countries. And what are those 7 countries? China, India, Japan, Korea, Russia, United States and Switzerland. So these are the other 7 countries except the 27 European Union countries. So this is all about the tokamak reactor. Now we will see India's initiative regarding the fusion reactor development. So the first is the Aditya. As we already know that India's solar mission is also called as Aditya L1, and it is also named as Aditya because the concept of nuclear fusion is related in both. So this name is also Aditya. It is very simple to remember in that sense, and it is indigenously developed and fabricated tokamak and located in Institute of Plasma Research, that is in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. So this is indigenous and it was operated since 1989. So this is about the Aditya. Then there is second steady state superconducting tokamak SST1, and this is also an important development and advanced tokamak, and it is fully functional from the 2013 at Institute of Plasma Research, Ahmedabad, Gujarat. So this is all about the nuclear fusion reactors and their development. Now we will see the related question about it. The first question is the function of the heavy water in the nuclear reactor is to, and the option is slow down the speed of neutrons, increase the speed of neutrons, cool down the reactor, stop the nuclear reaction. And the answer is slow down the speed of neutrons. And this heavy water contains the deuterium, as we were discussing in the nuclear fusion. So this is about the heavy water. Now there is a second question, and question is, with growing energy needs, should India keep on expanding its nuclear energy program? Discuss the facts and fears associated with the nuclear energy. As we already know, India in this budget talk about small modular reactors which will be of the capacity 300 megawatt and less. And we also enacted Shakti bill recently. Sorry, Shanti bill recently. So it is streamlining the all of the legal provisions related to nuclear doctrine of India. So you can write all those things, and you can write the fair and what are the advantages as we already discussed in the article. So this is all about the previous year question also. Now we will see the third main news of the day. So the next news is about the reinvention of the coal as the next generational fuel. And in this news, we will see the status of coal energy and coal in India. Then we will see what is the significance of the coal for India. Then we will see what are the initiatives taken by the India to reduce the coal related pollution. So this is very important for your GS paper 1, that is distribution of the key resources in world and in India. And it is also important for paper 3, that is infrastructure related to energy and sustainable growth. So let's start the discussion. So what is the background? So center has earmarked nearly 6,000 crore rupees, 5,925 crore precisely, for the exploration of the coal and lignite over the next 5 years period starting from the fiscal year 2027. And government is also taking steps to reduce the polluting impact of the coal based energy. Please remember, there is huge pressure on India to reduce the coal consumption. But if you see in the world, the per capita energy consumption in India is lesser than the global average. And if any country have to attain the development or have the inclusive growth, then there should be a energy consumption at particular level, because if there is energy consumption, then there will be economic activity, there will be scope for the growth, and there will be other economic activities going on for which energy is required. And that is why per capita energy consumption is one of the parameter by which a nation's growth can be predicted. And in that context, India is using less energy per capita than the global average, which means India is not at par using the energy for its development. So that is the issue, and because of that, India will be using the coal, because coal is abundantly available in India, and secondly, coal is very cheap as compared to other. Third aspect is that when we are importing the crude oil and other energy resources, our CAD or the current account deficit increases. And secondly, crude oil and all those fuels are also not very nature friendly. So all aspects are there, and that is why coal will be important aspect of energy demand and energy combination of the India. So this is the brief background. Now we will see the status of the coal sector in India. So what is the status of coal reserves? So India holds 5th largest coal reserves in world and 2nd highest consumption of the coal is also taking place in the India. And total estimated coal reserves in India are about 400 billion tons as of April 2025. So India have the huge coal reserves, and that is why there will be no other option. If there will be other cheaper option, India will obviously use that. But as of now, coal will be the cheapest and the most daily option to generate electricity in India. So that is the one aspect. Now, second aspect is coal production. So India have doubled the coal production, and that is almost 1,000 million tons in fiscal year 2024-25 from almost 565 million tons in fiscal year 2013-14. So it is almost doubled in the decade. So this is also one of the fact. Then third fact is about the future outlook. And what is the future outlook? So demand for the coal will be increased, and we will be exploiting the coal reserves of around 1.5 billion tons by the 2030 per annum. And now we will see about the coal in India. So in India right now, the energy mix of the coal is around 70%, and India pledged that this will be reduced to 55% by 2030, and by 2047 this will be around 27%. So this is the India's target, but right now there is no alternative or solution as such in the short period of time. So India will be dependent on the coal. So let us see about the coal. In India, there are 4 types of coal that is seen. First is anthracite, then bituminous, then subbituminous, and then lignite. Then there is also one category, but it is not conventionally a coal, that is peat. So it is soft material, and it will have the some of the residues, but it is not conventionally coal. Anthracite is the highest grade coal. In India, we have the largest reserve of bituminous, and the largest producer of the coal in India are the 3 states. And which are those 3 states? Jharkhand, then Chhattisgarh, and Odisha. These 3 states produces almost 70% coal in India. So this is also a very important fact. And why these states are important? Because here Gondwana region, Gondwana type of coal is found. So this is an important fact. Please remember that the bituminous is the highest coal found in India, and in India also these 3 states contribute 70% of the total production of the coal. So this is all about the status of coal in India. Now we will see what is the significance of coal for the India. And first significance, as we already discussed, that is the primary energy source. So coal plants still supply 72% of the electricity in India, despite its pollution related challenges. Secondly, it ensures reliable base load 24/7. So what is the base load? So base load is the load on the any grid will have every time at 24/7. So there will be some critical infrastructure, industry, and other things which will be going on, and then there will be a minimum level of energy demand every time. Please remember, the solar energy is not available at night. Wind energy is not reliable. It will not be available 24/7. And in that case, how you will manage the reliable base load? You cannot. If you cannot have the reliable power plants, and one of such power plant can be coal. So coal is important in that aspect. Secondly, it supports the critical industries. And which are those industries? Such as steel, cement, heavy industries, which are important for the economic growth. So steel, cement, these industries are actually very capital intensive. They generate huge jobs and also empower the critical infrastructure and economic growth. So these industries are very important. And steel industry rely 8% on the coal energy, cement around 5%. And without these coal energy, these industries will be collapse or will have the large implication and will not have the price superiority than its competitors. So this is the one of the facts. And then there is, it is very important for the national steel policy, and its target is that we will be generating 300 million ton crude steel by the 2030. And for that, the coal will be very important as the energy source. Then energy security. So domestic coal production reduces the imports, saves the approximate 8 billion in a particular financial year, that is 24-25. And if it is saving such a large huge uh, forex, that is almost 8 billion, then it is very important for our energy security also. And then last is economic development. So coal expansion creates jobs and attracts major investment. So it will attract major investment, then machinery, and then related R&D and expertise. But just consider the fact about the jobs. So there is one public sector company, that is Coal India, that is Maharatna company, and it single-handedly creates 3.7 lakh jobs. So please see, a single company generates 3.7 lakh jobs, and there are other companies also. So see the potential of job creation in the coal sector. So all these are the significance of the coal for India. Now we will see, and we already discussed, the coal obviously have some of the negative implication on the environment, and it generate the pollution. So what are the initiatives taken by the government? Obviously government have taken some initiatives, and first initiative is Mission Green. And what is the green means? Green stand for grow, restore, enrich, empower the nature, to balance the coal uses with the environmental sustainability. So that is the one. Then there is coal gasification. So what is the coal gasification? So coal is burned with particular conditions, and syngas is produced. And syngas is the mixture of the various gases such as carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, then methane and other gases, and it is relatively cleaner source of energy and reduces the pollution in the air. So coal gasification is one of the thing, and the National Coal Gasification Mission of India targets gasifying 100 million ton of coal by 2030. So this is second step. Then there is renewable energy integration. So what is this? So government is telling these companies to integrate the renewable energy and diversify your energy. So the target is to install 22 gigawatt of the renewable energy capacity by 2030 by these coal energy companies or the coal mining companies. So this is also very significant step in that direction. Also there is sustainable mine closure. So what happens, many times mines after getting utilized or exploited are kept open, and those are very risky for the pollution, and also they cause the leaching and the pollution of all kind. So to sustainable mine closure, new frameworks such as LIUS, and what is the full form? Land and Technical Reclamation and Reclaim, have been launched to ensure the scientific closure of mines and ecological restoration. So mines are closed, plantation took place over that, and all those things happen, right? Then also the fly ash used in the coal industry and energy producing industries. So fly ash is actually also used in the road making and also to close the mines to by land filling and land reclamation. So these are also some of the steps. And then lastly, carbon management. So there is Artha framework which have been introduced to map the carbon credit opportunities. What is the carbon credit and what is the carbon credit opportunities? When there are industries which produces large amount of carbon dioxide potential, so these industries actually take the carbon credits from the industries which actually promote the sustainable technologies which reduces the carbon, and by that way it encourages the other companies and R&D to produce the more cost carbon efficient and renewable energy resources. So that is also one of the steps that the Artha framework is there to give boost to the carbon credit opportunity. So this is all about the initiatives taken to reduce the coal related pollution in India. Now we will see related MCQs, and first MCQ is from the 2019, and what it says: coal sector was nationalized by the government of India under the Indira Gandhi. Then coal blocks are allocated on the lottery basis. Third, till recently India imported coal, but now India is self-sufficient in the coal products. So India still imports coal. Our coal production is not sufficient. Third is wrong. So D is wrong, C is wrong, B is wrong. The answer is A. That coal sector was nationalized by the government of India under the Indira Gandhi. So A is the answer. Please remember this fact. Then there is second question, that is, in spite of the adverse environmental impact, coal mining is still inevitable for the development. As we already discussed, all of these issues can be written here. And in start of the discussion, we told why coal is important, why there is lack of per capita consumption. All those points can be written in this answer. So you can write the good answer. This is all about this news. Now see the next main news. The next news is about Right to Education Act 2019. As Supreme Court gave some of the directions to the government to make the act more effective and its implementation more effective. Why this is important? So it is important for the GS paper 2, that is issues related to development and management related to education and human resources. In this, we will see what is the background of this news. Then we will see what are the instructions given by the Supreme Court. Then we will discuss about the Right to Education Act, right? And what is the significance of it. So let's start the discussion. So what is the development? The ruling aims to ensure that the all school make available the 25% seats for the children from the weaker and the disadvantaged section as per the section 12 subclause 1 subclause C of the RTE Act. So in RTE Act, this section 12 1 subclause C says that all unaided education institutions mandatorily have to keep 25% seat reserved for the economically backward sections. And why it is done? Because these unaided education institutions are very prime education institution having the lakhs of rupees of the fee, and then there will be always barrier between the students who are going in that schools and lower class students who cannot afford such kind of education. That will be having the adverse effect. Those students who are learning in such institution will never have the empathy, sympathy, or have the awareness about the societal nitty-gritties and the societal difficulties people face. Secondly, those lower class students will never have the opportunity to have the such high class education. So all these things can be covered by the section 12 subclause 1 subclause C. This is the purpose, and 25% of these seats are reserved here for the economically weaker section. You might have seen the movie Hindi Medium of Irfan Khan, and in that movie also the struggle was the same. So those lower class parents wanted their child to have the education in the higher education, in the better institution, and for that they do whatever they can. So this is the background of the news. Now we will see what are the key directives given by the Supreme Court. And the first directive is that central and state governments to frame and notify the rules under the section 38 of the RTE Act related to implementation of the section 12 subclause 1 subclause C. And what is the section 38? So it says that relevant government, any government, state governments or central government, should make the rules to effective implementation of the RTE Act. So this is the section 38, and under that So state government and central government will now frame the rules regarding the section 12 subclause 1 subclause C related to 25% seats for the weaker section in the unaided educational institution, right? Then there is rule making to be done in consultation with the National Commission for the Protection of Child Rights, NCPRC, NCPCR, and state commissions, right? And the National State Advisory Council. So with consultation of these institutions, these rules should be made. Then the NCPRCR and SCPCRCs constituted under the Commissions for the Protection of the Child Rights Act 2005 are responsible for reviewing, monitoring, and addressing the grievances redressal under the RTA Act of 2009. So please also remember the fact. Now we will see about the act. So what about the RTA Act? What was its purpose? What are its mandate and what are its provisions? So it was enacted to give the effect to Article 21A, which is about the compulsory education of the Indian Constitution, right? Then there is Section 3 grants right to every child age 6 to 14 to free and compulsory education in the neighborhood of the school. Very important, neighborhood of the school till completion of the elementary education. So what is the neighborhood has to be decided by the government under the Article 38 as we already discussed. But the Section 3 talk about the neighborhood, right? Then there is duty of appropriate government and local authorities to establish neighborhood schools. So government should have established the neighborhood schools so that student can have the access to the schools. Then duty of government and local authorities to provide schools, infrastructure, teachers, learning facilities, and sanitation and all those facilities which are very important for any educational institution. So that infrastructure has to be also provided. And then there are other provisions such as schools are entitled to reimbursement for the per child expenditure by the state. And in private institutions, those schools will be reimbursed by the state per child as per the expenditure. So these are the some of the provisions in the RTA. Now we will see what are the significance of the ruling. As we already discussed in the background, first is that promote the substantial equality and social integration from the early childhood. As we already discussed that those unaided school will be having the student from the higher class or the well-to-do families, and these student, those 25% student will be lower class or their parents may not be having the good economic background, but because of their integration they will be having the equal footing, equal education, and then social accumulation, and even the students from the higher economic background will have the empathy, sympathy, and the friendship with these students. Then they will have the compassion and substantial equality and social integration in that manner. Secondly, gives enforceable and operational meaning to the fraternity. So fraternity as enshrined in our constitution can only be practical if we give such incentives to integration of the various stratas of the societies. Then thirdly, enforces the common school system envisaged by the Kothari Commission. So Kothari Commission was the commission in 1964 to 66, and it led to the 1968 first education policy of India. So in that commission, they had talked about the common school system, and it is also promoting the common school system. So this is all about the significance of this. Then we will see what are the constitutional provisions related to right to education. As we already discussed, Article 21A that provides the free and compulsory education from the 6 to 14 years of the age. Then there is fundamental duty, that is article 51A subclause K specifies that the parents to provide the opportunities for the education to child 6 to 14, that is the 42nd Constitution Amendment Act. And then there is directive principle of the state policy, DPSP, article 45, that talks about and give direction to the state to provide the early childhood care and the education to the children below the age of 6 years. So this DPSP previously had this provision that there should be free and compulsory education, but because it made the fundamental right, so this DPSP changed that the state to provide the early childhood care and the education to the children below the age of 6. So this is all about the constitutional provisions also. Now we will see the previous year question related to it. The first question is from the 2012. So following provisions of the Constitution does India have the bearing on the education? So which are these will have the bearing on the education? First, directive principle of the state policy, as we already discussed, have. Then rural and urban local bodies. So schedules 11 have one of the provision of the schools. So schools are there, so second is also there. Then there is fifth, that is scheduled areas, and it is also have the provision of the schools in those areas. And then schedule 6, in these 4 states, Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram, these states also have the special provisions related to education in those areas, which will be notified under the schedule 6. Then 7th schedule, and it have the education as the subject, and it was transferred from the state list to the concurrent list, right? So it is also have. So all of the 5 have the bearing on education, so answer is D. Then there is a question, the right to children to free and compulsory education Act 2009 remains inadequate in promoting incentive based system for the children's education without generating the awareness about the importance of the schooling. Analyze. So because there is lack of awareness how right to education is not effectively implementing incentive based system, you have to write the points. We have discussed some of the points, and you can write the answer based on it. So this is all about this news. Let's see the next news. And the last main news of the day is Global Risk Report 2026, and it is released by the World Economic Forum, which is an NGO. This is very important for your GS paper 2, that is important international institutions. And why this report is important? Generally UPSC don't ask directly question from the reports, but the theme of this report is very important. And we will see what are the global risk given in the report. Report have also talked about the risk related to India and what are the problems India may face in upcoming year. And then report also talk about the evolving issues in the geopolitical scenario in the international relations. So let's start the discussion. So we already discussed the background is that World Economic Forum given the report and identifies geo-economic confrontation as the most significant global risk. What is geo-economic confrontation? So when power of economics is used for the geopolitical advantages, it is called as geo-economics, and it is also used as the weapon. So weaponization of the trade, you might have listened. So this is such kind of thing. So weaponization of trade is one aspect of geo-economic confrontation. So we will see what is the geo-economic confrontation and what are the issues about it, how it's gonna affect the globalization and India and the world. and then we will see important findings given in the report. So what is the geo-economic confrontation? So it refers to the strategic use of the economic instruments to reshape the cross-border economic relationship by restructuring trade, technology, services, capital, then knowledge flow. So all these things are dominated by the advanced economies, and they control all those things to gain geopolitically. So this is one thing, and if you do not give them what they want economically, then they will restrict trade, technology, services, capital, knowledge, all those things. These tools include sanctions, trade controls, investment restrictions, subsidies, state aids, and the currency measures. So all those things are used by these economies to get the geopolitical advantage over the other economies. One of such thing is the tariff imposition by the US. So what US is doing? US is imposing tariff, and by pressurizing imposition of tariffs, they are getting what they want, such as they want Russia should have the lesser international trade. And what are they are doing? So they are imposing tariffs on the countries which are doing the trade with Russia. In that process, they will be destabilizing Russia, but in that process, the other countries' relationship with Russia is getting impacted. And if you don't do that, then US will impose the large tariffs on you. Then there, secondly, the threat of de-dollarization. And if de-dollarization happens, the value of dollar will be reduced, and the USA as the global superpower will also be diminished. And why they are doing? They are imposing higher tariffs on the BRICS countries, right? So this is also one of the factor. Then USA also doing this thing on the China, but China also have the critical minerals which are very important for the industrial revolution 4.0. That is machine learning, right? And others such as robotics, then artificial intelligence. All those things are dependent on the critical minerals, and that is why when US is also dependent on China and China is also dependent on US, they form the G2 because they are dependent on each other. But this is not the case with the other countries. USA is not dependent on other countries for the critical things for their economy, and that is why USA can do tariff restriction on them. So please remember this thing. Then what are the potential consequences? The first potential consequences is erosion of multilateralism. So WTO is not that much relevant now. International trade is affected. India's international trade have gone down because of this, and there will be effect on the international trade overall. So that is also one thing. Then disruption to the systemically important supply chains, such as we already discussed that critical minerals, then there will be chips and other things, all those things, then magnets which are used in the EV cars, rear earth magnets, all those critically important supply chains can be disrupted. Then concentration of the strategic resources and technologies, this is also happening, and economic downturn and the state-based armed conflict. And because of this, even the state-based armed conflicts are on rise, as we can see in the Iran and Mediterranean, and then also in Israel and then Venezuela. All those things are happening because of the geopolitical confrontation which is taking place in the form of economical restraints and economical sanctions. So this is one of the only what are the consequences can be the question. So please remember these things are very important for your answer writing in the IR section. Then what are the action which can be taken? So economical restructuring, Then foster mutual gains should be prioritized. So India is prioritizing the free trade agreements with the various countries such as UK, then EU, then other countries, Qatar, all those countries. So that should be prioritized and promoted. Then reinforce the existing multilateral institution. So there should be work to reinforce the multilateral institutions where there is no influence of the protectionist powers, and then invest in local resilience such as Atmanirbhar Bharat. So all these are the some of the action recommended. Let's discuss about what report states. So report state about the near term threats. And what are those near term threats? Such as climate change, then wars between the nations, then displacement. These are the near term threats. And what are the long term threats? So long term also climate change, weather change, and there is degradation of biodiversity and extreme weather events. So these are the long term threats. And for India, it is talking about inequality, IT and cyber attacks, lack of public infrastructure. So all those problems are there for the India. So report talks about all these issues, right? Now we will see related question about it. So the first question is about which of the following gives the global gender gap index ranking to the countries of the world? And the answer is World Economic Forum. Then in 2019 again they asked global competitiveness report is published by whom? And the answer is World Economic Forum. So please understand, in couple of years 2 times they asked the question related to World Economic Forum, which is very important. And World Economic Forum will have the World Investment Summit at the Davos every year, and lot of countries goes there, and it is one of the important financial gathering in the world, right? Then see the main question. The question is related to with the waning of globalization, post Cold War world is becoming the site of sovereign nationalism, elucidate. So this question we have discussed in the previous weekly roundup also. You should also go and see that video to give to get the more insightful analysis. Here we can also write about the Brexit, then tariff war, then geo-economic political confrontation. All those things you can write here. And then Trump policies, at withdrawing from the international organization, right? So these points can be written, and you can write what are the solution to tackle all those points. This is all about the main news for the today. Now we will see the place in news, and today's place in news is Israel. So development is not that significant. India and Israel signed joint ministerial declaration related to fisheries. So this is not that important, but country is very important because it is a place in conflict, and UPSC generally asks the question related to countries and places where they are in conflict. So let's see. So what are the political features? So it is located on the West Asia, and that is the Levant region. Levant basically a French term, and it is means the of the east. As compared to the Europe, it is in the east, so that is a Levant region it is called. And it is countries which are those countries which are in Levant region. So the countries we will discuss, the neighboring countries of Israel, are actually the part of Levant region, and also Turkey sometimes considered as the part of Levant region, right? So we will see what are the bordering countries. So Lebanon in the north, Syria, Lebanon in the north, Syria in the northeast, then Jordan in the west, right, and the east, and then Egypt, Sinai Peninsula to the southwest. So this is about the countries. Now you can make the mnemonics to remember the countries, such as little snake jumps everywhere. So just to make learning funny and more easy to remember, I have made this thing. You can also do such things for your recalling. And what does it do? So little means Lebanon, S means Syria, J means Jordan, and every means E means Egypt. So you can make such mnemonics to remember, and these are the countries UPSC may ask. So you can remember this mnemonic. Then there are major water bodies. So see, there is Mediterranean Sea there, right? So Mediterranean Sea in the west, and in south there is Gulf of Aqaba, that is the Red Sea. Question can be asked, and Israel touches the Red Sea through the Gulf of Aqaba. So this is the political features. Now we will see geographical features of the Israel, and it is divided into 4 parts. So this is the coastal region, then is the central highland, then this is the Jordan Rift Valley, and this place is called as Negev Desert, right? So it is divided into 4 parts, and these are the 4 parts. And what are the major water bodies? So Jordan River here is Jordan River. So it flows in the eastern border. Then there is Sea of Galilee. This is the small sea, Sea of Galilee. And then there is Dead Sea. So this is the Dead Sea. And about the Dead Sea, it is the earth's lowest elevation on the land. So it is the earth's lowest elevation on the land, that is the Dead Sea. And the Sea of Galilee, it is the fresh water source. Please remember this fact also. So this is all about the Israel. Now we will see quick updates. Let's see the quick updates of the day. And first quick update is about the Valley of Flower. And what is the development? So fire was reported near the Valley of Flower, and it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site natural. There are 7 World Heritage Sites which are natural in India, and that is first is Great Himalaya, that is in Himachal Pradesh. Secondly, Valley of Flower. Then Kyola Doghana, that is in Rajasthan, right? Then there is Western Ghat. Then there is Sundarban, right? Then there is Manas, and then there is Kaziranga. So these are the 7 places which are natural UNESCO World Heritage Site in India. Let's see about the Valley of Flower. So what is the location? So it is located in the Chamoli district of the Uttarakhand. So it is located in Chamoli district. Secondly, it forms the 2 core zones, and other being the Nanda Devi National Park. Nanda Devi National Park also forms the UNESCO World part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site, right? Of the Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve, which is the part of the UNESCO's Man and the Biosphere Program MAB. So please remember that Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve is the part of UNESCO's Man and the Biosphere Reserve Program, right? And both encompasses the unique transition zone between mountain ranges of Jaskar and Great Himalaya. Please remember this fact also. Then what is the forest type? So subalpine forest, because it is at the higher elevation. So there will be a subalpine forest type. And flora, so such as Brahma Kamal, blue poppy, cobra lily. So these kind of flora is found. And fauna, there are various faunas, but important for us is the snow leopard. So snow leopard is there, then Asiatic black bear, then Himalayan musk deer, brown bear, blue sheep, all those animals are found there. So this is all about the first quick update. Now we will see the second quick update. And second quick update is about the Bhadrakali inscription. And why it is in news? So Bhadrakali inscription serves as the vital 12th century epigraphic record that authenticates what? The historical and archaeological evolution of the Somnath temple under the patronage of the Solanki dynasty. And we are also observing the 1000th year of the attack of Muhammad Ghazni on the Somnath temple. So it is in that sense important, and question can be asked related to Bhadrakali inscription, where it is located and it is related to what. So it is related to Somnath temple, right? So there are other inscriptions also which are very important for the history, and question can be asked and are asked on that, such as Iran in MP, and it talks about Sati, right? Then there is Junagadh. So it is about by the Ashoka's minister, and it is about the Sudarshana lake which was repaired regarding that. Then there is Uttar Merur inscription, and Uttar Merur inscription talks about the Chola self-governance at the village level and their election system and all those things. So Uttar Merur is also important in that aspect. Please remember such kind of important inscription. Now we will see the Bhadrakali inscription. So where is the location? Location is in Prabhas Patan, Gujarat, and its time is 1169 CE inscription. It is on the Bhadrakali temple's wall. So please remember this thing. And in Prabhas Patan, Somnath temple is also situated. So please remember this fact also. What is the context? So it serves as the Prashasti, and Prashasti means eulogy for the Acharya Bhava Brihaspati. So Bhava Brihaspati was the teacher of the Solanki king, Chalukya king, Kumarpala, and it is the Prashasti related to him, and that also have the description about the temple. So please remember that. What is the chronology? The record provides the legendary history of the Somnath temple across the 4 yugas. And what it states? What are those 4 yugas? The first yuga was of the gold, then silver, then wood, and the last by the stone, which was built by the Bhimdev Solanki, right? And what is the information about the patronage? It highlights the role of the Solanki dynasty in the temple's revival, especially Kumarapala's efforts in the 12th century. So Chalukyan dynasty's role in the revival of the Somnath temple is highlighted in this Prashasti and inscription. So this is about the second quick update. The next quick update is about the Voyager 1. And what is the Voyager 1? Voyager 1 is expected to become the first human-made object to reach the distance of the 1 light day from the Earth. And 1 light day is the measurement of not light but the distance. And what is signifies? As we already discussed the speed of the light in the nuclear fusion, it is 3 lakh kilometer per second. So such a huge amount of speed is there for the light, and if light travels for the whole complete day, the distance covered by that will be called as the 1 light day. So Voyager have traveled such a long distance. And about Voyager 1, what is the information of the Voyager 1? So it was launched in 1977 by the NASA to fly by Jupiter and the Saturn. So It was launched in 1977 and it took so many years to complete a one light day, right? So you can imagine the distance it traveled. Then instruments. So it have the instruments called as imaging science system ISS and ultraviolet spectrometer UPS, etc. And what is the significance and achievements? So it is the first spacecraft to cross the heliosphere. And what is the heliosphere? Heliosphere is the sphere where the uh, effect of the gravity of the sun and is more than the other stars. And beyond the heliosphere, the boundary that influence from the outside our solar system are stronger than those from the sun. So this is the heliosphere and it have crossed the heliosphere. So this is the first spacecraft or the any human made object to be known that have crossed. Then there is first human made object to venture into interstellar space. What is interstellar? Interstellar between the stars. So it is now in the between the star. You might have heard about the movie about the interstellar by the Christopher Nolan. So it have now in the interstellar space where there is no single stars influence, but it is between the star. So this is all about the Voyager. Now we will see the next quick update, and that is about the Umania initiative. What is the development? Government e-marketplace GEM marks 7th years of Umania initiative. And what is GEM? So basically government e-marketplace is the place from where government procures required stuff for the government. So it is one of the largest procurement agencies, and Umania initiative is there to promote the women entrepreneurs. So GM was launched in 2016 to promote the transparent, inclusive and efficient public procurement. And GM is the initiative of Ministry of Commerce. And so is the Umania initiative. You may get confused that Umania initiative might have been promoted by the Ministry of Women or such, but it is by the Ministry of the Commerce. Please remember this fact. Now we will see about the Women initiative. It is the flagship program of the GM to enhance the participation of the women entrepreneurs and the SHGs. And by that way, they will get more business and they will have the more market access. Secondly, they provide direct, transparent and fully digital platform, eliminating the intermediaries and reducing the entry barriers. Because they are small, they may not have the ability to enter in the such large marketplace, but because of this initiative they can actually have the access to such large marketplaces. And what are the key achievements? So more than 2 lakh women led MSCs registered on the GM portal and orders exceeding 80,000 crore rupees, accounting for the 4.7% of the GM's total order value. So see how such a large amount of business was given to the women-led entrepreneurs and their companies, MSCs and self-help groups. So this is all about the Umania initiative. Please remember it is by the Ministry of Commerce. Now the next quick update is related to EU Council and EU Commission. And what is the significance, why it is in news? Because the presidents of those organizations will be chief guest at the India's 77th Republic Day. Now we will see about the EU Council and EU Commission. What is the EU Council? So it was established in 1958 as a Council of European Economic Community, and it leads to the formation of European Union in the latter stage. So please remember that fact. And what is its role? So it is the voice of EU members, governments adopting the EU laws and the coordinating EU policies. And what are those members? So all the government ministers from the each EU country will be the members of the EU Council. Now we will see the EU Commission. It also established in the 1958 as like EU Council, and its role is to promote general interest of the EU by enforcing the legislation, laws enforcement and implementing the policies and the EU budget. So this is the EU Commission's role, and its membership. So commissioner, one from the each EU country, and both these organization, EU Council and EU Commission, are located in the Brussels, Belgium. So this is all about this quick update. Now we will see the next quick update. Next quick update is about the Australia group, and why it is in news, because recently Australia group celebrated its 40th anniversary, right? Let's see about the Australia group. So it was founded in 1985 in the wake of chemical weapons used in the Iran-Iraq war, and it was an informal arrangement, not legally binding. So please remember this. This is an informal agreement and not legally binding. So this is the second important point. And what is its aim? It allows exporter or transshipment of the countries to minimize the risk or further proliferation of the weapons, chemical weapons of the destruction. And who are the participants? So there are 43 participants. So 42 countries and EU also. India also become the member of this in 2018. There are also key multilateral export control regimes in in world, and we will see which are those. The first is multilateral export control regime, also known include as the Wassenaar arrangement, then NSG, Nuclear Suppliers Group, and then Missile Technology Control Regime. Now please remember that India is not part of the Nuclear Suppliers Group. India is not part of the Nuclear Suppliers Group, and China is not part of the Missile Technology Control Regime. So please remember these facts, and all these are legally binding. Australia group is not legally binding. So this is all about the Australia group. Let's see the next quick update. So next quick update is about National Sport Governance, National Sport Bodies Rules 2026. And what is the development? Recently government notified National Sport Governance, National Sport Bodies Rules 2026 under the National Sport Governance Act 2025. Now we will see about the rules. So national sport bodies includes what? Many bodies: National Olympic Committee, registered sports federations, then wrestling federations. All those bodies comes under the national sport bodies. And what about the rules? So it talks about the each body will be having the general body and the executive committee, right? And then composition of the general body. So in general body there will be having the four persons, and those sport persons should not be of the age below the 25 years, and there should be at least 50% of the women representation in it. Then women representation in the executive committee, there is also a provision that at least 4 women members should be there in the executive committees, right? Then there will be national sport election panel to oversee the election to these national sport bodies, and it will have at least 20 members at all the times. Please remember, this is very important. At all the times it will have the 20 members. That one of the issues with the many organizations is that they will have this strength, but there will be no appointment. So here it is said that at all the times they will have the 20 members. And what is the criteria for the disqualification? If there is conviction for the any criminal case and there is imprisonment, then they will be disqualified. Please remember, in last weekly roundup we talk about the National Sport Board, right? And what will it do? It will oversee the functioning of these national sport bodies, and National Sport Board will have the 3 member organization, 1 chairperson plus 2 members, and they will be having the 3-year term and age limit of 65, whichever is earlier. So you can go and see that thing also in the last weekly roundup, right? So this is all about this, and this is all about today's weekly roundup. For more current affair related news and the initiative, you can go to our digital current affairs portal and solve the previous year questions. Then you can read various current affairs magazine and our various initiatives. So please go there and solve and hone your skills. This is all about today's session. Thank you. Happy learning.